If you've been considering purchasing on 38, but something's just not really sitting right, and you're wondering what else is there? How can I have great access to 38 but not actually be in it? Stick around. This is the video for you. We're going to go over the pros and cons of purchasing just north of 38 in Santa Rosa Beach. I'm going to apologize to you guys real quick. I know my voice is super nasally. I'm just coming off of a cold and it's still just kind of hanging in there, but still going to provide you some great, incredible information. It's just going to be a little nasally in its delivery. It doesn't change the information at all. We'll get through it together, all right? If you're not super familiar with 38 and the overall geography here, then keep in mind that 38 is just this stretch, this like 26-mile stretch off of 30A, right? It's a road within Santa Rosa Beach. So we're still going to be talking about Santa Rosa Beach here. We're just going to be talking about north of that road. So you've got 98 that runs east to west, and then along the south, you've got 38 that kind of makes like a smiley face, if you will. It's a happy little area. And then just to the north of 98, just north of that 38 area, that's what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to give you the pros and cons of purchasing there instead of on the south side of 98 in true 38. So the first part that I'm going to give you is that it's still in super close proximity to 38. So truth be told, this is where I live, just north of 38. I've got to be able to get to 98 very quickly because I do a lot of business, to the east and west and south. So I want to have quick access to 98. I don't want to get stuck in traffic anywhere. This makes it really easy for me. You've got, I think it's 4 different accesses to 30A from 98. So being on the north side still affords you that very quick access to 38. And why is that important for someone interested in purchasing on 38? Well, the majority of people are purchasing as investors, right? You're looking for either long-term hold or short-term rentals, something. You're wanting that return on your investment. So proximity to the beach is a big concern. I can tell you from my house on the north side, it takes me 5 minutes to get to the beach. It's very, very easy. It's a very, very leisurely trip. And that's on the north side. So I didn't pay 38 prices, quite different price actually. And I still have that great access to the beach. So if price is also a component of your purchasing decision, then this is something really great to consider. And keep in mind now, 38 is super long. We're talking about 26 miles here, right? So there are different, kind of proximities and distances to the beach, depending on where you are, even if you're on 38 itself, because some of it's going to be closer to the beach as it dips down, while some of those areas that are north of the 38 line, but still south of 98, are going to have a considerably longer distance, especially if it's kind of towards 98. And going straight down isn't going to take them straight to a beach. So there's a lot to consider here. So I'm telling you this because you could potentially purchase a property on the north side of 98, just over 38, and still be in closer proximity to the beach than you would be had you purchased in an area south of 98 along 30A. So really, really consider what it is that's most important to you whenever you're considering these decisions. Now, all that proximity stuff being said, there are definitely some great properties on 38 or south of 38, south of 98 in the 38 area that are going to be closer than 5 minutes. Some of these areas are going to be walking distance. So that's a con of buying north of 98. For the most part, you're not going to be in a distance that you want to walk to the beach. It's probably, maybe 1.5 miles from my house to the beach. I'm in decent shape, but I'm probably not going to walk that. That's a long way, especially with my 5-year-old and all her beach toys and stuff and, water, what have you. I'm very likely not going to make that walk. And if you're purchasing this property as a short-term investment, then your short-term tenants probably aren't going to want to make that walk either. So they're probably going to drive. This goes into our next consideration is the short-term rental aspect of it. Now, I can tell you that just within my neighborhood, we have plenty of short-term rentals and they are doing excellent, okay? You can absolutely make great money from the short-term venue north of 98. Are those numbers ever going to equate to those on the south side? Not in a million years. If the ability is there to rent walking distance to the beach or with a beach view, that's going to book first every single time. However, that initial investment could be significantly less and still have a great return if we look on the north side of 98. Now, if we consider different locations along the north side of 98, that's going to bring another sort of variable. For instance, all the way on the east side of 38, we have Inlet Beach. Now, just to the north of 98, we also have part of Inlet Beach. Inlet Beach has kind of been separated from 98. It's the only part of 38 where a community has been split by 98. So it's all the way on the east end, and both the north and south side are walkable to the beach. And they're creating this tunnel that goes below 98 so that your short-term rentals on the north side can walk safely across, under 98 and gain access to the Inlet Beach public beach access. So that's a great return on an investment for still considerably less. We're looking at properties at, right around 5 million on the south side of 98, and we're looking at like 800s on the north side. So that initial investment is significantly less while still having a high rate of return. Another pro that we can talk about for purchasing on the north side of 98 is going to be bay access. I don't know how many of you like to enjoy water sports on the bay, but it's a whole lot different than, say, in a coastal dune lake, right? You can see basically all of the boundaries from any position in a lake if you're on one of our lakes here on 38. However, if you're out in the bay, the possibilities are endless, right? So if you're interested in a waterfront property and you're not looking to spend $8+ million as you would need to on 30A on the Gulf, you could purchase on the bay just north of 38 and have the best of all the worlds. Maybe you like deep sea fishing. Okay, you purchase a waterfront property on the bay, a bayfront property. You've got your dock, you've got your house. You can short-term rent it out whenever you want. Take your boat, go out through the bay, and then over into Destin, go through the pass, and then get out onto the Gulf. Or maybe you don't even like going into the Gulf and you just enjoy bayfront activities. Maybe you're like me and you get seasick quite a bit. There are so many possibilities that you wouldn't have on the south side. So depending on your preferred lifestyle, that bayfront living could really suit you significantly better and come at a much lower price point. You can get your jet skis out there. If you're in the 38 area, you're going to have access to paddleboards, kayaking, things of that nature. Your own, muscle powered, sports or water sports, if you will. Whereas if you go to the north and you're on the bay, then you're able to get motorized a bit, right? Now, that being said, at no point are you going to be so incredibly far away from the beaches at 38 that it's going to have a significant impact on your enjoyability of the area. You're just adding a different facet to it. So if you're purchasing on 30A itself, you need to really love the beach. You better be walking on the beach all the time or a short-term rental, something like that. But north of 38 in the Santa Rosa Beach on the Bay Area, still fantastic. These short-term rent well because we have tenants who like to come down and enjoy their boats. Some of them even bring their boats when they're here on vacation, or you could incorporate that into your portfolio. So not only are you now renting your house out, but you're also renting out either your dock or your own boat. You could store a car there and rent that out as well. There are multiple aspects that you could incorporate into a sort of vertical business model where you control all of it and they're just renting everything from you. Now, when you're on 38, a lot of people will have a golf cart that is accessible by the tenants. If you're on the north side of 98, a golf cart isn't going to be quite as necessary because you're going to have to cross over 98 to get over to 38. And you can't be doing that with a golf cart. So keep that in mind. We talked a little bit about the difference of, bay life versus coastal dune lake and gulf front living. So let's talk about the actual feel, right? When you're in Santa Rosa Beach, north of 98, it has a tendency to feel just a little bit more rural. You see a whole lot more trees, okay? It's not as manicured as 38. 38, I already said it, it's pretty manicured, right? It's very beautiful, different types of architecture. When you move north of 98 into, that North Santa Rosa Beach area, it gets to feeling just a bit different. You'll still have some amazing architecture if that's what someone put there, but for the most part, you're going to see kind of regular style houses. You're not going to see a ton of these giant multi-million-dollar properties, with the eagle's nest on top. It's just not so much there. But it still has a very welcoming feel. So if you are going to be using the property yourself, I have a few people that tell me, I don't want something where people are going to come visit and they're going to be afraid to touch anything. We get that. On the north side of 98, there is a higher potential for you to find something that is exquisite, but still touch friendly. We talked a little bit about, return on investment and such, and the different price points for kind of similar properties, both to the north of 98 and then to the south of 98 on 38. But something else to consider is that the land, just the actual land at 38, there's not a ton of it, and it's continuously being built up. So eventually it's going to run out. We're already seeing it. And so that's why everything is expanded into the north side of 98, and tons of properties are being built out over there. I mean, we've got water sound origins over there. We've got, multiple new builds. We've even got, gated communities up here. So it is continuously being built out. We've got a new hotel coming up. We've got some drive-throughs. So all of that to say, the property values are only going to continue to go up. Okay, so if you get in soon, sooner is always better than later. I don't know how many times even I myself have looked at some condos and been like, I remember when those were literally a third the price, and I wish I would have purchased it because that was only 5 years ago. So that's not to say that you guys missed the boat on an opportunity in this area. That's just to say 5 years from now, we're going to be saying the same exact thing. So the time to move is always when you're able to make the move. Real estate is an ever evolving thing, especially in our area. Anytime you're coastal or you're in a great tourist area, it's just going to continue to go up and up and up, right? So better to get in before the pickings are super slim. There's that higher potential for everything to go up when there's still the potential to buy and build. Once everything's already built out, we're probably going to see a slowdown in those value appreciations. So while we're still in the midst of growing, this is a great time. By the way, if you have any questions about any of this information, whether it's on the north side or south side of 98 or in the neighboring areas of 38, all of my contact information is on the screen. I am AJ Baduch, your local 38 real estate specialist with the luxury division of the Emerald Group. Speaking of building up in the area, on the north side of 98, your lots are going to be a little bit bigger. The house isn't going to encompass so much of that property. So you're able to do more with it. Keep in mind that right now, we're seeing a lot of people try to move towards multi-generational family homes. So if that's kind of the area that you want to move into, maybe you build now. Maybe now is the time for you to purchase some land, put a main house on it, and a smaller property like a mother-in-law suite that in the interim can be rented out. This would allow you to maintain use of the larger property whenever you want and just keep that smaller one as a rental until it needs to be something else. Now, on that north side of 98, so still 38 area, north of 98, we're going to see a lot fewer and a lot less HOA fees. So we are going to have some gated communities. We're going to have some new build communities. These are all going to come with HOAs, but there are still plenty of subdivisions to the north of 98 that have no HOA fees whatsoever. So what does that mean? Less take on your return on investment. You can do whatever you want with the property, within reason. Obviously, if you're doing something crazy, you're going to have to call the county and make sure that's allowed. But for the most part, you can do what you want with the property. If you are considering living here full-time at some point, then consider who your neighbors are going to be, right? If you are on 38, like true 38, keep in mind you're likely going to be around a lot of short-term renters, right? Possibly some big parties, kids, teenager types, all the time. I don't see a future where 38 is not a huge tourist attraction. And I do anticipate the north side of 98 is going to feel more of that as we continue to grow. However, the potential for being in an area where you are less impacted by that type of lifestyle exists more so on the north side of 98. You are able to get into communities that don't allow short-term rentals, both on the north side of 98 and on the south side. But on the south side, those communities are going to be right next to the communities that do allow it. So you're still going to be very close to it in proximity. But if you purchase on the north side, you're a little bit more isolated from it. You're still going to be able to gain some income from it if you purchase in a specific subdivision that allows for it. But you can also be kind of away from it because anyone who is coming for the short term and is on the north side of 98, they're going to be visiting the south side there. So they're going to be taking their party back to the south side. They're going to be out on the beach. They're going to be doing different things. They're not going to be hanging out at the property, right? So once you start living there full time, you're not going to be impacted so much by like rowdiness. So to wrap it up, if you're considering purchasing around 30A, consider the north side as well, because the pros are you're still in close proximity to 30A, all its venues, the beaches, and you could get that potential bayfront living as well. You can still short-term rent it out, but then if you wanted to move into it at some point, you could be away from all the tourist action. You have quick access to 98 to get east over to Panama City or west over to Miramar Beach, Destin, and all of those areas. So very convenient still to absolutely everything, much lower price point, great return on investment. Please, if you found any great information in this video, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell, and give me a thumbs up so that everyone else knows I did a great job and I can help more people. I've been loving the calls, texts, emails, and comments down below. Absolutely love conversing with you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please, you can reach out to me any way that you like. I am happy to help. I'll see you all in the next one.